Welcome to Cigar City Radio, episode number 35. I'm your host, Randy Ojeda, and making the magic happen, a man who's probably about to creep me out, Mr. Jason Solanas.
You know what's really magical, Randy?
What?
When you slowly...
See, I was right. See, I called it.
brings a whole new meaning to...
Oh, man. Dude. For more episodes, head to cigarcityradio.com or subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. Just search for Cigar City Radio. You can also connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and on all those networks, our username is Cigar City Radio.
Cigar City Management has teamed up with Northside Festival to bring the Noche Buena Party series to Brooklyn. Join us Thursday, June 8th at Gold Sounds for a night of kick-ass music featuring Salt Cathedral, Dirty Dishes, Yucky Duster, Parrot Dream, and the band you're hearing right now, Fruit and Flowers. If you're anywhere near Brooklyn, you don't want to miss this official Northside Festival showcase. Tickets are available on Ticketfly. For more info, head to cigarcitymanagement.com/Northside.
Our guests on this episode are Lynn Thomas and Shelly Simon from Homoground, a network of queer music and media creators. Homoground promotes queer visibility through music, videos, events, and other creative forms of multimedia, including the Homoground podcast, which features music from LGBTQ and allied bands. You can find all 200 plus of their episodes on iTunes and learn more about their mission via homoground.com. So here it is, episode 35.
Four names doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, right on. All right, so we're joined here by Lynn and Shelly from Homoground, queer music radio, right?
Hey, what's up?
You're also a podcast, so
Yes.
we're cross podcasting right now. This is like, when like in like
To become one.
yeah,
Energy.
yeah, no, it's like a crossover, like when DC and Marvel, they just like JLA versus the Avengers. I'm getting really nerdy. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, as you should. You should.
Yeah, I just realized you have cats all over you.
Yes, that's why I
Like,
walked in here.
you literally have tattoos of cats over you.
They're
for the
cats of the
listeners.
past that are forever with me.
Yeah. That's so cool.
I walked in here and I was like, oh, I feel like I'm pretty comfortable, pretty at home. I brought my own party with me with a bunch of cats on my arms.
Yeah. So tell us about Homoground. I know you got a lot of episodes out. You've been doing it for a while. And you're putting a spotlight on queer musicians and people, that are not what the mainstream thinks musicians should be and look like,
Yeah.
And where did Homoground come from? Where did the idea come from?
So it came from the genius mind of Lynn Casper in 2011. 5 years last year, 6 years. Yeah, 2011. They were down in North Carolina, and they'd done some previous things like Be Your Own Queero, which was a zine. They did like the Really Free Market, and they just noticed that there was a lack of their own representation. So they just took their own initiative and just started it in their apartment in Wilmington, North Carolina. Then 3 or 4 years later, moved up to Brooklyn. I had known them back in North Carolina, kind of like hooked up, and then Shelly came on board.
Yeah, it's cool because I graduated from school in communications and was looking for an outlet of some sort, like that being radio or design or whatnot, and came across, I'm a musician as well, so it's like, being queer and a musician and being interested in radio, I was like, there's something out there that's going to combine all of these together. Like, what does that look like? And I looked up, like, queer music on a podcast platform and came across Homoground, and they were looking for an intern at the time, so I reached out and I was like, pick me. This is exactly what I've been looking for.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
not only like to take in as entertainment and like news, but also like as a project, I would love to be like a part of a team. That would be really cool to be like, hey, like I work with these guys.
Yeah.
So
And,
yeah.
and then the rest is history, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you select the music that's on the show?
So what we'll do is either like musicians will approach us or we'll approach them like via shows or like word of mouth. Beginning stems of it was a lot of word of mouth of other queer musicians wanting a platform to showcase their music.
Yeah.
So it's all submission based. You know, we'll reach out to artists, be like, hey, I see you. You're doing great stuff. We would love to have your music on the podcast. I would say 50-50 people find us or we find people, and it just in the end the artist submitting and being like, okay, cool, here's my stuff. I can't wait to hear it
Yeah.
on the podcast.
That's so cool. But it's not just queer musicians and bands that you're like you
Right,
you play a wide variety of stuff, which I think is part of the whole thing, right? I mean, it's part of the inclusion. and,
Inclusiveness
it's like
over everything.
You'd be just as bad if you were singling out
Yeah.
people that don't identify as queer.
But definitely have to be allies.
Yeah. Yeah,
100% down
yeah.
have to be with like the
Yeah,
cause.
like you're not going to be playing like some frat boy stuff
Yeah.
or anything, you know?
Like-
yeah.
And it's cool because it's also like not only like gender and sexuality based, it's a whole spectrum, but also like genre based. So it's not just indie music or not just hip hop music. You know, there's other genres of music that we include where it's like noise based, perhaps. You know,
Yeah.
It is anyone's expression that aligns with our views and what we're trying to showcase and support. Then we're like, yeah, like we'll play your stuff. Why not?
Yeah.
It's an interesting way of being able to showcase these kinds of things. You know, people are like, "Oh, I love podcasts." I'm like, "Well, what about a music podcast?" You know, it's people already are into this type of medium of entertainment, and it's really interesting to be able to like showcase musicians like sounds on there. You know, it's not typical like Spotify or like iTunes where it's a normal route of releasing music. It's like here's a fun way to do this, but they still get exposure, and it creates a community of sorts. And that's what's been even cool the past like few South bys we've been at. You know, we run
Yeah.
into the same musicians, the same people in the scene who are out there doing their own thing, but they're like, "Oh, we see you," and I was like, "Oh, we see you too."
That's cool. And then you just had a show, was it Tuesday, I think?
Yeah, we did an event with Boss Babes Austin and DJ Girlfriend Austin, and it was involving other zines and collectives and whatnot that are feminist minded and the whole 9 yards. But yeah, and then last year, Homoground was really lucky to be a part of Dropbox, and they did a podcast house for 2 days.
Sweet.
So there's a panel that we did a live episode on. And there's 5 people that spoke. Lynn Casper, the founder of Homoground, spoke on it with 4 other people, just talking about like the queer music scene and like politics of Austin. So that was really cool to be a part of.
You're not from Austin.
No, New York.
No.
Yeah, New York
New
based.
York.
That's what I thought. So New York, for being such a progressive, open city, there's still a lot of issues going
Yeah.
on. Actually, we had a show at last year's Northside Festival that we had to cancel because the venue, who will remain nameless, but they've since closed, so it doesn't really matter. But they actually put on a like Nazi show, like a couple weeks before our show was supposed to happen, like a pro-Nazi rally. I didn't even know that kind of thing still existed in this day and age. I mean, now
Now
that
it's everywhere.
Trump is president, now I really know that it still
Yeah.
exists. But I just couldn't believe like we're in New York City and there's a pro-Nazi show going on. What the hell, man?
But yeah, and like in terms of that and like representation, like it's something that is under attack right now and it's happening, and representation now is like bigger than ever. And like if we can create something where somebody in Charleston, South Carolina or Augusta, Georgia doesn't hear their voice heard on like their mainstream top 40 radio, if we're able to like provide them something that gives them like a little bit of hope and like a little bit of something and like maybe a new artist to like cling to, that's really what we're trying to do. So we're trying to like reach out a little bit more and get a little bit more diverse artists, just so that we give that representation to the you know what I mean, in
Yeah,
like
I
a
know.
smaller town.
That's so great because in New York, like there was a Nazi show, but at the same
Yeah.
time there is a community there for you that you can connect with and meet like-minded people that can offer support. But yeah, if you're from small town South Carolina and you don't identify with the people that are around you, where do you go to feel included?
Yeah.
So,
It's like the Brooklyn bubble is like a joke I hear now and again.
yeah,
and
but it's a real thing.
It's
man.
a real
Yeah.
thing. You think we're safe with amongst all these, supporters of certain ideologies that we may follow through it, and then it's funny when something like, last year happens, and you're like, boop, bubble pops. You remember that we're all in this together. That even though we are in like a very blue area, there are bits of red, and it's
Yeah.
important to reach areas that don't have, I guess, access to as much that we do in bigger cities like New York or LA or Miami or however you be. So coming to Austin's a funny crossroads too, because
Yeah.
Austin's a very progressive city in itself within such a red state.
Yeah.
But we have to remember, you go 50, 100, 200 miles out, like you might find somebody that like isn't able to find a, let's say, escape, if you will.
Yeah.
So having like different media for them to dabble into is awesome.
Yeah, I think Patton Oswalt has that joke about like Austin and Athens, Georgia being like a den of sanity, like surrounded by like a pile of shit.
Den of sanity.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, somebody said, what was the thing about the blueberry yesterday? It was like, it's like a blue. Oh God! Somebody made a hilarious joke about describing Austin that it was like a blueberry and like a shit sandwich or something like that.
I love the blueberry and like apple
if I want
pie.
a blueberry in my sandwich. though.
Yeah, it was honestly a much more hilarious joke, but
That was
I've
good.
lost. No, that mine wasn't good. So I think it was our friend William that said it. So William, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry for butchering your joke. But,
You tried, man.
The point, I got the point across. Yeah. Even with terrestrial radio station, you're not in a place where you can tune in, but
Right.
now you can tune in wherever you are.
Yeah, and it's nice because the episodes live on.
Yeah.
Like there's episodes from 2 years ago that feature musicians that I still listen to,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll go back and listen to them again. And it's nice because you can tell the progression either in sound or like theology or whatever. So that's what's a great thing about podcasts is since there are episodes that are archived and they are around, you can go back and visit them.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, and you can really take a snapshot of like this is kind of what was going on right then.
Yeah.
This is a representation of the sound. And
That's
you
awesome.
you can see how that changes over time and everything. What do you feel about the Brooklyn scene right now? Where's it at?
The Brooklyn scene, I mean, it's always going to be there. I think it was
Yeah.
like Caroline from Fruit and Flowers said yesterday, it's a necessary city, and then you do the work, and then the work comes to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, the sad thing is a lot of things are closing, especially a lot of queer-minded venues are closing. A lot of the DIY scene is
Rest
coming
in peace,
under
Chase Stadium.
yeah. Is
Silent
coming under
Barn, please
attack.
hold
I
on.
know.
Like, don't go anywhere, Silent
You
Barn.
have one job.
Yeah, so like that's really scary, but I think that hopefully out of the ashes it'll inspire people to like, I don't know. Do you want to finish that?
Yeah,
thought?
I think it's, with things opening and things reopening again or things like coming to a new open, there's always like ups and downs of a scene. It's
Yeah.
if it was perfect all the time, it'd be like the Obama administration when it was perfect all the time. No. 8 years of bliss. No,
Yeah.
but more so like there are times when things are really, really great, and we have to really appreciate those times and remember to be diligent and like go out to not as many shows as we can, but whatever we can do.
Yeah.
Like, we're not killing ourselves, but more so like just being out there and being supportive of like our friends, ourselves, other people we may not know, and taking that time seriously, not being like, oh, it's always gonna be there, because
Yeah.
you wake up one morning, you find out your favorite venue is closing, and it's like, wait a minute. And I
Yeah.
moved up there. I mean, I'm brand new up there of like a year or two, but it's so great to see so many venues up there that speak out to so many different artists coming
Yeah.
from a small town in the South, where it's like one or two venues maybe that
Yeah.
like it's like every month there's a great like diverse show, and it's like you get a crazy turnout because of that. So it's just important to like not lose faith in the fact like a lot of stuff is closing,
For
but
sure.
it's like it's a full circle. It's like the good times, the bad times,
Yeah,
the
I was-
ugly times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I moved up the year Death by Audio closed.
Oh man, Death by Audio. What a place.
And everybody thought that was going to be the end of New York. But
Yeah.
then, like, 4 years later, 5 years later, Market Hotel reopened,
Yeah.
and like that energy came back. And like, so yeah, I was there for like the first death. And I do think that right now it's like not so great. And DIY everywhere is under attack.
Yeah.
And that's really scary because those are some of the most inclusive spaces.
Yeah, and we need those spaces.
need those spaces to
especially when,
cultivate.
the National Endowment for the Arts and things are getting cut.
Exactly.
You know, like there's going to be a lot less of these quote unquote official spaces for people's voices to be heard. So there needs to be underground spots, DIY spots where people can do it. You know, it reminds me it's almost like Prohibition era. You know,
Right.
but with music. You know, like we
Yeah.
can't really express our music in the way that we want to, so we got to do it without the man getting involved. You know?
Yeah, and it's like hearing about, again, things like the night of, like you just know it's on this date, where's it gonna be, kind of thing. And that's interesting because that mentality like transfers over to different cities. You know, you go traveling, you go to a city like, say, like Portland, and it's like, I want to go to a show. What are some shows happening? Oh, like some of these main venues have closed, but like, oh, there's other smaller venues, like word of mouth kind of things. And
Yeah.
that breeds a sense of community that's really, really fun to be a part of.
Yeah, because you really have to find out about it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, you do the work and the good work comes back to you or something like that, which
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, shout out to Caroline.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
wise, man.
yeah. We can gush about fruit and flowers all day.
Ah.
They're the homies, but that's cool. I know you just had them on the show, right? You just played some of their stuff.
Yeah, they were super kind and submitted some tunes. And what my favorite thing about these special episodes with South by is these bands are basically on tour for like a month. You
Yeah.
know, they make their time coming out west worth it.
Yes.
You know, and it's so cool, like to see the crossing paths. Like one band will be like in New Orleans on a Tuesday, then another band I know will be there on a Wednesday. So
Yeah.
it's like they're like chasing each other in a great way, or like starting a fire, and everyone just keeps adding to the fire. You know, so a lot of bands on this southern route, if you will, maybe going over to California or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a really neat experience and a great time to travel. It's not summer and it's a million degrees in a van.
Yeah, sure. Well, and like New York is under like a foot of snow, so now's
Right.
the time to
I was
come to
like-
Texas. You know? Yeah.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, it's even cold we're from Florida. It's even cold in Florida today, of all places. It's like 35 degrees there. That's like the coldest it gets.
North, like we're getting those winds coming down. That's what they get.
That's
Yeah. What's up now?
yeah. What's up now?
Yeah. But yeah, so you've been coming to South by for a couple years, you said. Do you still feel like this conference, this event, this festival, whatever you want to call South by Southwest, is it still important?
What do you think?
I think it's more important for the cities around Austin than it is for the South by Southwest Festival. I mean, South by Southwest gives places like Beaumont, Texas, like a steady run of shows, and like other surrounding towns, which is like really sweet. But I'm not sure if South by is, I mean, it's obviously not what it was, and it's becoming more and more commercialized and more branded. And
Yeah.
that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
And with the internet now, it's like democratized music in like
Sure.
a beautiful way where you don't necessarily need to come to Austin
Yeah.
to do your own thing and to get noticed. But
I think what's cool about it though too is like everybody's telling us that this is the most low key South by in a long time. I think like last year it kind of hit its peak, and now it's like, you know, a lot of these bigger brands have either scaled down their presence or just they're not here at all. So it allows like, you know, other events and off the beaten path shows and brands and companies to like actually have a spotlight, you know, and that's what this whole thing was all about in the beginning was, you know, up and coming independent bands getting discovered, you know.
I think
So-
it's cool too because a lot of the shows I would be wanting to see and like we would want to see and like that other like our listeners would want to see aren't exactly official because there isn't
Yeah.
that space for these kinds of artists yet. So a lot of them are playing events that a lot of people can go to, you know, which is nice. And it's also like a big reunion of sorts. Like we see people from all around the country who are able to come meet up, you know, and
Yeah.
be like, what have you been doing all winter? What have you been working on?
Sure,
and
sure.
it's super fun. And I think there's different levels of South by that apply to like different kinds of people, you know, like
Yeah.
for tech, I think it's amazing. I think it's really, really cool for them to show off what they've been doing. And again, that's, you know, a realm of like certain seriousness where they like, you know, business have a big part of it, you know, whereas music, it's like how music has always been, you know, you randomly go to a bar, you see a band, you're like, I actually really like this band. Like,
Yeah.
and they're like trying to play as many shows as they can too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, you hit a random show on a like Tuesday at 2:00, you find a band you love. That's what's so cool is there's still that mentality of like just a lot of different stuff to choose from, I guess.
Yeah, no, I love that, and that's what's cool about the unofficial shows and the the highly curated shows. It's like we had our party last night, Noche Buena, and there's a guy that kept coming up to me because he knew we put the show together, and he was like, "What was that last band? What were they called?" And he had his little notes app on his iPhone. And he was writing down like fruit and flowers, and it's cool to see that somebody can just like walk into a venue not knowing what they're gonna see and see like a diverse range of awesome bands. And
Yeah, and you hit a clientele that you wouldn't normally hit if you're in New York. I mean, again, it's New York. There are a lot of people traveling and stuff that will come to your shows, but
Sure,
like,
yeah, it's New York.
You also have like New York friends that would come out and stuff like that. But down here, you could find someone from Australia that's here for tech that randomly shows up at an event on like a Tuesday, or that guy could be from Fairbanks, Alaska, then show up to your event because he has a night off from playing in a band today.
Yeah.
So that's really cool to have the like depth of reaching that many people within
Yeah.
such a like short amount of time.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a giant community of music lovers that are all at the same place at the same time. So something cool is gonna happen. And that to me is my favorite part about South by, is that there's so much happening. There's obviously no way you can take it all in,
Yeah.
but everybody can see something totally different, but it's still something totally cool.
Yeah.
It's-
One of my friends that came by the event the other day, I was like, I'm going to catch one of your sets. They're playing like 5 or 6 sets. And she's like, go see music you don't see in New York. Like,
Yeah.
go see bands that aren't from New York. She's like, you've seen me plenty of times. We'll hang out again. But go see something new because that's what you're here for, and it's free, and bands are just out there and just like want to spread their music. So I'm like, again, that mentality. I love it.
yeah, I love that mentality. That's so cool. What else you got going on for the week?
You've got some stuff you were gonna hit up today and like tomorrow and stuff like that, right?
And then Homoground is doing a photo booth with Lesbian Wedding on Sunday,
Oh,
which
sweet.
is a really cool event with DJ Girlfriend.
I love that name, DJ Girlfriend.
Me too.
I'm not hip. I need to get to know DJ Girlfriend.
They're awesome. Ezra helped put on the Empress event on Tuesday, and they do a lot of events in Austin. They do like them and they and them at Volstead every Wednesday.
Okay.
It's like an all-inclusive dance party, which is super awesome to have. And they've been doing a lot of other events that like with Planned Parenthood and going like the State House. Very politically active, super cool person. There's the That's What She Said showcase today. I'm gonna hit up at some point, and I know Don Giovanni's doing something tonight.
Yeah.
So it's cool because a lot of the artists that Homoground has featured are of different genres and different, I guess, places like around the country. So they're playing a lot of different showcases.
Yeah.
So it's cool to be able to check out those different avenues of sorts. But yeah, kind of just like taking the road and seeing where it takes me. It's cool.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And it's just awesome to be here, right?
Yeah.
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 The weather's been great, little overcast, but that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And again, it's just cool to meet up with great people doing awesome things like you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
This
it's
is
like-
such a cool setup.
Yeah, I mean, we've been Facebook friends for a while, and it's
Right,
like
yeah.
now I finally get to put a face to the name and
Yeah,
meet
and-
you in person.
And that's what's so cool about like being down here is again like meeting people and being like, this is who I am outside the screen. This is who
Yeah.
our like team is. This is who like we want to meet, and that's what's really important. I think about the internet. While it is a great thing to connect people, it's also like we have to remember those like in real life stuff, like feeling this pen, feeling this table, or
Yeah.
petting that cat, like the real things.
Yeah, definitely petting the cats.
Petting
That's
the
real
cats is the whole
thing.
reason we're here.
Yeah, totally. But that's the thing though. The world is so digital now. We're all locked into our screen that's why I think something like South by Southwest is still important because you get to actually experience live music in a very real way, And you can't beat that.
Or tacos. Can't beat tacos. Oh. Petting the cats is the whole reason we're here.